Hi, everybody. So in the 1980s, I was in my 20s, and I was a huge marathon enthusiast. And I lived in the Bronx, New York, and my Aunt Grace lived in Manhattan, and where she lived, the marathon went right by her apartment. So every year on Marathon Sunday, I would go to her apartment really early in the morning so I could get a parking space in her block, because once the marathon begins, the cops shut down all the streets. So I'd go really early so I could get a parking space in her block, and I would stay at her place all day, and I would watch the marathon on TV until it passed by her house. Now, she lived at the 22-mile mark. And so I would watch it on TV until I see it coming, and I would run downstairs and watch the marathon. I would watch the people go by, and I would stay there until the last person ran by. And I did that every year until one year I was standing out there watching the marathon, and while I was standing there, Aunt Grace, she walks up to me and she says, I don't understand this. You come out here every year and you watch these people run this race, and I don't get it. Why don't you just get in it yourself? And at the time, I was a little bit overweight, like I am now. And I said, look at me, Aunt Grace. I can't run no marathon. That race is 26 miles. I could never run this thing. She's like, well, look at these people. They're not in the best shape. And then she said, and you got to think, if they're running the race today, then that means you have a whole year before the next one. And you know what that means, right? There's no excuse, because you could do anything in a year, right? And while we were standing there, see, this was the 22-mile mark, so while we were standing there were people who had already finished the race, and they were walking back past us with medals around their neck. And Aunt Grace was like, and look at these people. Don't you want one of those pretty medals around your neck? You should get one of those medals. I was like, yeah. And I just really kind of dismissed her. But the thing is, she was right. I was only 26 years old. I had a whole year before the next one, and there was really no excuse. So when it came time to register for the marathon, I registered, and I got accepted. See, because in New York City, you got to get accepted. And I got accepted, and I started training. And the thing about it is, I didn't know in my first time that I needed to train with a group. I trained by myself, and I did a really terrible job of training. And I think I might have, by the time the marathon came in November, I think I might been able to run 8 miles or something like that. So Marathon Sunday came, and I ran it, right? And round about the 15-mile mark, I was crossing the 59th Street Bridge, and I collapsed. And I was just like, you know what? Forget this shit. I ain't doing this no more. And some people came next to me and with a gurney, and they started to lay me on the gurney. And I realized that once I laid on that gurney, that's it. No medal. So I got off. I was like, no. I'm going to keep going. So I kept going. A little bit of walking, a little bit of running. I was way at the back of the pack. Finally, I passed by Aunt Grace's at the 22-mile mark, and when I got there, my whole family was there. Aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, nephews, my sisters, everybody was there. And I didn't expect that. I thought it was going to just be Aunt Grace, but everybody was there. And that energized me. I was like, man, I felt good. So I kept running, right? I kept running, and I got to the finish line, little bit shy of 6 hours. That's not funny. Little bit shy of 6 hours. And I was so far at the back of the pack that when I got to the finish line, there were no more medals. Right. There were no more medals. So I got on the train. I went to Aunt Grace's house because I knew the whole family was still there. So I went to Aunt Grace's house for dinner. And Aunt Grace was like, where's your medal? See, they didn't believe I finished. I was like, I finished the race, Aunt Grace. I'm serious. They ran out of medals. And the whole family was like, get out of here, man. Get out of here. You didn't finish. I was like, I really did. Everybody else got medals. How come you don't have a medal? And I didn't know what to say, and I couldn't prove to my family that I had finished. So About 6 weeks later, the doggone medal came in the mail, right? And it was at that moment that I realized, when the medal came in the mail, I said, you know, this is actually better. Because had I crossed that finish line and gotten the medal, I don't know who that person is who would have put that medal around my neck. So you know what I did? I took the medal out and I didn't put it on. I put it back in the envelope, got on the train, went to Aunt Grace's house, and I said, Aunt Grace, I need you to do me a favor. She said, what's that? I said, put this around my neck, please. Thank you very much.